Something feels different around Bank of America Stadium lately. You can sense it in the air, a subtle shift that suggests we are moving away from the predictable patterns of the past. For years, we've watched other teams innovate while we stayed stuck in the mud. But there's a new energy building, a feeling that a secret weapon might be hiding in plain sight on this roster. If you're a real member of the Panthers faithful who believes we can reach that Super Bowl glory again, hit that subscribe button, and like this video right now, we are moving. We have all spent the last few seasons watching the New Orleans Saints with a mix of frustration and envy because of one specific player. Taysom Hill has been a thorn in our side forever, a guy who defies logic by lining up everywhere and keeping our defense guessing. It felt unfair that they had this Swiss Army knife while our offense looked bland and stagnant. But honestly, the news coming out of camp suggests that the narrative is about to flip in a major way. There is a massive buzz building around Haynes King and what he could actually become for this franchise. We knew he was athletic, but his 9.65 RAS score is absolutely elite, ranking him among the most gifted athletes to ever enter the league at the position. Now, this is where it gets interesting because the team is looking at him as more than just a backup quarterback. The implication here is that we might finally be getting our own version of that nightmare matchup. It is a shift in identity that we have not seen since the days of Cam Newton or Christian McCaffrey. But this feels even more specialized. When you look at the way Haynes King moves, he has that raw, explosive speed that forces defensive coordinators to rethink their entire game plan. He has been a prolific dual threat in college, but the transition to the pros is where the tension lies. Reports suggest he is open to doing it all, even though his heart is set on being a quarterback. That internal struggle creates a fascinating dynamic for the roster, and the coaching staff convince him to embrace a hybrid role for the good of the team. If they can, we are looking at an offense that suddenly becomes impossible to predict. Imagine the pressure on an opposing linebacker when King and Bryce Young are both on the field. The possibilities are endless, but it requires a level of creativity we have not seen from Carolina in a long time. This is not just about a depth chart move. It is about changing the very soul of how this team attacks. We have been waiting for a spark, and it looks like King might be the one to provide it now, but we have to talk about the risks because this is not a guaranteed success story just yet. Transitioning a talented quarterback into a Taysom Hill-style weapon takes more than just raw speed. It takes a total commitment from the player and the coaching staff to step outside their comfort zones. This is where the emotional weight of the situation really hits home for us fans. We have seen high-upside players come through Charlotte before and get lost in the shuffle because the team did not know how to use them. The concern is that if Haynes King is too focused on being a traditional quarterback, he might resist the very role that could make him a star. On the flip side, if the Panthers force him into gadget plays too early, they might stunt his development. It is a delicate balancing act that could define the offensive trajectory for the next few years. Think about the roster impact here. If King takes a spot as a hybrid player, that is one less traditional receiver or running back we can carry. The pressure is on the staff to prove they can handle a unique talent like this without breaking the chemistry of the locker room. We are looking at a scenario where the defense has to account for a guy who can throw, run, and potentially catch. That creates a ripple effect throughout the entire depth chart. If this works, the expectations for our offensive production will skyrocket. But if it fails, it is another failed experiment in a long line of them. The uncertainty is what makes this so suspenseful for those of us who follow this team every single day. We want to see that future of the franchise energy, but we have been burned before. The tension between King's personal goals and the team's needs is palpable. There is speculation that the staff is already drawing up specific packages to test his versatility. This would be a massive departure from the stale play calling we have suffered through recently. It feels like the organization is finally realizing that to compete in the modern NFL, you need players who can break the rules of the game. The emotional investment in a guy like King is high, because he represents the hope for a more dynamic and dangerous Panthers identity today. Now, this is where things really change for the long-term vision of this team. If you look closely at the potential double pass plays or the option screens they could run with King and Bryce Young, you start to see a path toward being a true contender again. But this is the biggest question. Is the organization truly ready to commit to this level of innovation? Because this could become something much bigger than just a few trick plays per game. We are talking about a fundamental shift in how we utilize our assets. Every time King steps onto the field, the emotional temperature of the stadium will rise, because everyone knows something explosive could happen. This is the kind of suspense that keeps fans coming back. The what happens next energy that has been missing. But the roster consequences are real. If King is utilized heavily in this hybrid role, how does that affect Bryce Young's rhythm? Does it take away from our established stars, or does it open up lanes for them that never existed before? The Super Bowl window for any team is fragile, and making a move like this shows a level of desperation and ambition that we have not felt in years. We need to see that growth, that willingness to take a massive swing. The pressure on Haynes King is immense. He is not just trying to make an NFL roster, he is trying to redefine what it means to be a modern playmaker in Carolina. This is why the retention of this narrative is so high, because it connects to everything we care about as fans. It is about identity, it is about winning, and it is about finally having a player that other teams actually fear. We have spent too long being the team that other fan bases mark as a win on their calendar. Integrating a weapon like King could be the first step in reclaiming our respect, but the danger of it becoming a distraction is always looming in the background. If he is not fully bought in, or if the coaching staff gets cold feet, it could all fall apart before it even starts. That is the tension we are living with right now. It is a high-stakes gamble that could either elevate us to new heights or leave us all wondering. I'm going to be honest with you guys, this move actually excites me more than almost anything else I have heard this offseason. I really like the idea of Haynes King being that wild card because I think fans should pay attention to how stagnant we have been. This could be incredible if the vision is executed correctly, but I also have to admit it worries me a little. We have a history of overcomplicating things when we should be focusing on the fundamentals. However, seeing a player with a 9.65 RAS score and the willingness to do whatever it takes is rare. I really believe this move has the potential to give us the edge we have been missing. It feels like a breath of fresh air for a fan base that has been starving for some creativity. I want to see the Panthers be the team that other people hate playing against again. I want them to be the team that forces the opposition to stay up late watching film. The insider perspective here is that the coaching staff knows they need to take risks to keep up with the rest of the NFC South. We cannot just play traditional football and expect to win 10 games. We need that Taysom Hill factor. We need someone who can turn a broken play into a 40-yard gain. I am cautiously optimistic because King seems like a high-character guy who just wants to contribute. If he can set aside his ego and embrace being the ultimate weapon, he will become a legend in this city. But the road there is going to be full of challenges. There will be games where it does not work, where the gadget plays look silly and fans start calling for a more traditional approach. That is when the team's resolve will be tested. I think we need to stay patient and let this narrative develop. This is not just a training camp story. It is a potential franchise-altering development. I am leaning into the excitement because, for the first time in a while, the Panthers are doing something that feels bold. It is about time we stopped playing it safe and started playing to win. This is the kind of move that rebuilds a culture, and I am here for it. The journey for Haynes King and this Carolina offense is only just beginning, and the story is far from over. There is so much unresolved tension here, because we still don't know if he will officially make that final roster cut or how he will be utilized once the real bullets start flying. But one thing is certain. The future is more uncertain and more exciting than it has been in years. This one move, this one player, could truly change everything for how we are perceived in this league. We are standing on the edge of a new era, and the anticipation is building with every single practice report. Will he be the next Taysom Hill, or will he be another name lost to the history books? The answer to that question will define the 2026 season for the Panthers faithful. I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. Do you think King is the missing piece to this offense? Or are we putting too much pressure on a young player? Should he focus strictly on being a quarterback, or should he embrace the hybrid role? Let's get a real conversation going because this is about the soul of our team. Don't forget to like this video if you love the Panthers and subscribe so you never miss an update on this developing story. We are a community of real fans and your voice matters. Keep pounding and remember the blue and black always. Bye now.